Well, hi everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about: are you lazy, depressed, or ill? And we're going to start that in a little while, but while we're waiting for people to get to the channel, hi Jody. We're just going to do some housekeeping stuff. So, Jody, I understood the comment that you made to me. I think when we've got and more people in the chat, let's ask them and see if anybody's got the answer to that. Because I actually don't have the answer. I haven't asked Mr. Google, or Mr. YouTube, or Miss YouTube. But I certainly, if necessary, I'll ask my rep at YouTube. I think it's a very good question to have answered. The other thing is, I've been talking about the PayPal button on my website, and for some reason, I can't see it there anymore. Don't know what happened to it, so I need to have some help to get that one back again. Anyway. Hi, Angel Wings. And do we know you under a different name? Because I think we do. Welcome. So I'm really quite excited about this particular broadcast because I think it's going to help a lot of people to know whether or not they should be going and chatting about this. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I'm not going to put that on the feed. So that's cute. So the whole thing about today is we're going to be discussing quite a lot of stuff around this, what exactly is the issue? And just while we're waiting, just bear with me 1 second. I want to just check one thing. And I can't do that, as you know, while I'm not on air, which is always very frustrating for me, but I'll get there. Don't worry about it. Just sorting out the screens here so that I can do this. Except it's going so slowly, it's going to drive me mad. Okay, forget that. All right, so today we are talking about lazy, depressed, or ill. But before we get to that point, I just wanted to update everybody in terms of thoughts and prayers. Hi there, Erin. Welcome. And great timing, Erin. When you're ready, because I know you do this in a different way, just feed us back any updates in 25 words or less. In the meantime, I'll go on to the others. Lauren, doing very well. She got back into the wheelchair this week, so we're very pleased with that. And it's obvious that she made the right choice to stay in hospital because of what's happening to her. But I believe she's on the right track, so we are very happy to hear that. Well done, Lauren. Yay. Jody, I'll let you do your own feedback. While you do that, I'll talk about Kerry. Kerry did a great job. For those of you who know Kerry, she did a great job yesterday. She was really struggling with all life. Life was getting in her way. Every which way she turned, she got a flat tire. Then she got a new tire. When she got the new tire, she found out she needed a new rim. You know what I mean? And it just went on and on. But what I thought was incredible was the way she processed it. And the reason I know how she processed it is because she was telling us along the way exactly what she was doing. And she even stopped to have something to eat in the middle of it because she knew she had been under high stress and needed to calm down a bit. And what I was really pleased about was that at least a couple of people mentioned the deep breathing that I had suggested. um, recently, and that's breathe in for 5, hold it for 5, breathe out for 5. And if you find that, doing that about 5 times doesn't calm you down, then breathe in for 6, hold for 6, let go for 6. And if necessary, I think I've been as high as 9 or 10 before I actually settled down. By then, of course, and it's interesting, you think, gosh, when you do 5, I'd never be able to do 10. But it's really funny how you do that. Do you know what I mean? It's really funny how, as you get into that breathing, you end up being able to do 10. So anyway, just a thought. Don't stop at 5. If you need more, do more. Fair enough? All right. So now then, next point that I wanted to make. I'm sure that somebody will update us eventually on Becca. And I say eventually, either Becca will come in or Kerry will, in which case we will know the answers to this. All right. Now then. Okay, Jody, very explicit, says I'm doing okay. Nothing much to report. Now, let me tell you, I've known Jody for a couple of years, and for her to say that is not good. And she's not somebody that gushes about herself, but I also know that she's not somebody who complains. So, oh, and that's nice feedback. Jody says that breathing technique has got her out of a panic attack a few times. Yay. I love it when I hear that what we're doing works for people. All right. Happy birthday today to the Brit. For those of you who know the Brit, Paul, known as the Brit. On the 10th, it will be Beth's anniversary. And on the 11th, Roseanne's birthday, for those of you who remember Roseanne. I don't think anybody Erin might, yeah. Now then, are there any Star Wars people in the room? And if so, May the 4th be with you. It is May the 4th today. So I got a couple of people muttering about the humidity around their part of the world. Yeah, so May the 4th be with you. And by the way, if you are new to, we haven't got anybody new to the broadcast right now, so we'll drop that down a little bit. Hold on a second. We'll wait and put that close to the end. Oops, closer to the end. Okay. Let's put that there. Helps if I get it right. I think I've just moved something that should be somewhere else. Yeah, I did. That was clever. I love it when I'm not perfect. Now, before we get going, I wondered, Angela's new to the room. Welcome, Angela. What was I going to say to people who are new to the room? I was so busy switching screens. No, not boastful at all, Angel. Actually, I think it's Angela, right? Not. Hi, Ireland. Good to see you. Yeah. Oh, it's a pleasure, and we will give you the rules as we go along. They're not many. We try to keep the language pretty user-friendly. Occasionally, an occasional word can slip out. That's not going to get you banned. But you understand this is YouTube, and they will actually ban me if your language is pretty bad. So I've got a feeling you probably aren't somebody who would do that. But I do have a filter on the program. The other thing is that it just automatically gets upset with you. Well, What else do we need to warn you about? Oh, Angel and Ireland. If you hear anybody say mop, it means they've gone to the washroom. That's a story behind that. When I first started casting, I remember saying one day, "Has anybody got a mop?" And everybody said no. And they went, "Why?" And I said, "Because if you haven't got one, I need to go to the washroom." So that's sort of now become a thing. Okay, so here's the update from, and the thing being that people say mop instead of I'm going to the washroom. It's much quicker. All right, Erin's update. Medically, nothing's changed. Nothing will change until next week around Thursday or Friday. Okay, so by the next broadcast, hopefully we'll have an update. So Erin, you're doing a great job hanging in there. I know it's difficult. Yeah, I actually don't use iVlog because I'm not an i person. That's cute. Yeah. Um, but yes, on Vaughn, true. I think it's wonderful, Angel, just to listen for absolutely. And by the way, you can spend the whole time every week, every broadcast, just listening if that's what you want to do. Get on with your life if you want to listen while we do this. But you'll find that some of the subjects get pretty intense, so you might want to be there just to add your input, because sometimes your input will help others. So don't be shy about that. All right, so here we go. Getting things done. Does anybody want to make a commitment for something they'd like to get done in the coming week? Hi, Beth. Welcome. Meet Angel. I think her name's Angela. So here we go. If anybody has got something they want to get achieved this week, please do let me know. And Jody, if you can remind me just to say that again once we are sort of through the main part of this, that would be awesome. Any feedback on last week's subject, triggers? Did any of you find that you were able to identify your triggers more easily this week? I was really impressed with, as I said, how Kerry coped with all the triggers. Okay, so Erin's asking for some thoughts and prayers. Let me just get a note here. Okay. I'll put that up after I finish the broadcast, Erin, if that's all right. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that life throws you that extra curve when you don't want it, but that's life. All right. So congratulations for the week I wanted to give to Beth. Beth, could you have a look at your averages and tell me what did you average in eating this week? How many calories a day? This is an incredible story because, as some of you will know, that when we first met Beth, she was struggling with really not eating very much at all. And we know that's a problem up here, not a problem in the body. All right. And so we actually challenged Beth to, change her life a little bit and give her more energy and give her more get up and go and get the mind going again. All right. So, Ange, I think we can definitely call you I think we're going to call you Angel, if we may, because we've got at least one other Angela that we relate to in terms of a name. Ridiculously low amount of calories a day to actually a healthy amount of calories a day. And she said, and I'm not sure if it's still problematic. you know. Um, Hi, Sakura. Good to see you. All right. So she thinks her average is 1,100 calories a day. And that'll give you some idea of how much her body was craving food. Um, so big congratulations from me. And Beth, this button, I now know that you have, I'm going to put a note of that. So that's week 1 accomplished, right? So week 1, 11. What I've said is that if she can do 4 weeks with a healthy amount of calories average, this button has her name on it. Now, I say this button, but a button. Hang on, can I get that there? Beth, I know you think this is all gray, but it actually has some purples in it. Can you see that? There we go. That shows it better. Yeah, it is extremely pretty. So it's got your name on it still. By the way, she's not allowed to lie, because if you lie, you don't just harm yourself, you harm the universe, I think. So that's our challenge, right? Because we're going to lie to hopefully get people to think we're better than we are, or more disciplined than we are, or whatever it is, more intelligent than we are. But the truth is, you're not helping yourself by doing that. Do any of you relate to that? Do any of you relate to actually lying? Yeah, Beth's busy saying what she did to help herself was to actually put the scale away. It was a trigger. Yay. That is awesome. Hi, Sarah. Good to see you. Thank you. Yeah, she's doing an absolutely wonderful job. We're very proud of her, and she's managed to put on 10 pounds in a week. Now, Beth, the interesting thing is if you hold it at 1,000 calories, that's what I said, right? If you could balance it at 1,000 average, then you'd get the button. Is that correct? That was my commitment, right? Let me write that down. Average 1,000 or more. Okay. And the reason for that was that she really was not eating nearly enough, and we knew that. All right. Yes, that's good. That's so far. Right. So, Ireland, yeah, you'd lie about your drinking habits. Do you pretend that you drink more or pretend that you drink less? And we're about to get to the main subject. So, those of you who need a quick, yeah, um, it's amazing, isn't it, how we don't want to tell people the truth? Why do we do that? Actually, we should perhaps do another video on that, just on that thing, what we lie about and why. Those of you who like my artwork, this is my piece for the week that I liked. I only got in 1 day this week of doing my artwork, but I really quite like that. And that would be about a 10 by 12, I guess. What do you think? All right, so Sakura has an update. Wow. She's saying both she and her husband started CrossFit this week. And because of it, we're starting to eat healthy and drinking more water and feeling more energized as well. For calories, 13 to 1,400. That's awesome. I want to say, um, I want to say that is amazing that you did that. Well done. It looks like the inside of a raspberry. Actually, that's a possible name for it, right? Okay, so Erin is saying there are lots of reasons we don't want to tell people the truth. because we don't want to burden them or worry them, or because we don't want to face the truth ourselves. Yes, I think in a lot of cases, the latter. We don't want to face the truth ourselves. We are ashamed, and that's why we lie. All right, Sakura, awesome. She's saying that since she started getting on a fitness thing, she doesn't feel as depressed anymore because she has more energy. I wonder if Beth has found that as well. She says that she does have a lot of sore muscles. Yeah, totally relate to that. Well, absolutely. We're going to add you on to the congrats. Hang on a second. Let me do that here. And this is Sakura starting. What's it called again? Something fit. Let me look back here. CrossFit. Okay, got it. Awesome. Very, very proud of you. All right. So any other updates while you're at it, just let me know. Okay. By the way, I made some new buttons quickly this morning just so that you could see them. But what I thought I'd show you is that you can actually hang them on a pendant, as a pendant. So this is one that I did. But you understand, you could just, it's difficult to see this way, but you could actually wear them as a pendant if you want to. So, all right, and I did, I know some of you like these sort of colors, so I did that. And I did this one. So, now I need to come up with a price, people. What do you think is a fair price? Yeah, to me, it's just like depending on what you're wearing. You know, you could just wear a matching button, or it'd be nice on a choker to maybe a bit big for a choker. Yes, I could make these as with matching earrings, and I might do that but they're just plastic. You're thinking, no, I think that's a bit much for what they are. Oh, know what mum knows. Thank you so much. Welcome. If you've been listening for a while, you know the house rules, right? By the way, for those of you who don't know the house rules, does anybody not know what a 2x4 is? Excuse me. I don't mean what it is in real life. Do you know what it is on this channel? Just in case I decide to use one. So for those of you who might not know, if I'm about to give somebody a piece of truth that I think they might not like, because, we all understand that feeling. Sometimes we don't like what the truth actually is. I will actually say I'm about to give you a 2x4. Would that be okay? In other words, I'm asking permission to tell you a truth that could hurt, because I don't want you to run away, but I do want to tell you the best advice I can give you. I hope that makes sense. But I will always ask first. Well, I think so. No, I won't always ask first. Okay. I won't always ask first, because if you are a long-time viewer, the chances are I know that it's okay for me to hit you with it. Yeah, Beth's already got a few lumps from 2x4s. Jody has calluses. So that is great. And thank you. You see, Beth, the interesting thing is when you start owning your stuff, have you noticed you can start laughing about it more easily? And when we can start laughing at ourselves. Yes, Sarah knows about the 2x4s as well. But when you start laughing at yourself, life gets a lot more happier. Have you noticed that? Well, it's not necessarily the medicine you want to take. So I do try and, keep those to a minimum. But, such is life, right? Um, all right. So, Jody, a time check at 25 minutes. And that's because we're about to start. Actually, yep. So I'm probably going to give you another time check, Jody. Just cross that one out. Because I forgot to tell you about the upcoming broadcasts. Tonight, we're doing some more handy hints and hacks because you all enjoyed those last time. So I'm going to try and do that at least every couple of weeks, because I'm sure that once we get into the habit of it, you'll be keeping them. And what I wanted to do is to just make sure that we sort of have a fun assortment. I've got some cooking ones for tonight. So if any of you have got any good cooking hacks that you think people might like to share, that would be awesome. But it doesn't have to be about cooking. I just picked some that I noticed. What I found is, just as you're going through the week, see what you do and ask yourself, do other people know how to do this? Because 9 times out of 10, people don't. And that's a very interesting part about it. By the way, on Sunday, very important, on Sunday, I'm going to do a broadcast on what mothers really want for Mother's Day. And if you are not on our mailing list, please be aware that you need to write to me at DearMamaSal@gmail.com and say yes to the list, literally, in the title. And that way I will put you on our mailing list. There was a questionnaire that went out to our recipients of... Did everybody get them, by the way? Well, I thought, Mum, if I can call you that, what I thought was, if we did a broadcast on it, some of you will be able to say, if you want to know what people really want for Mother's Day, listen to this broadcast. All right. So you can send them to the replay. I thought that would be an idea. Yeah, Jody decided to make my fancy bread. Hi, Jamie. Okay, so Erin's saying that. That's cute. Erin decided she's changed her medication. Apparently, it stopped her filters a little bit, because she said, I've been sugarcoating on my medical situation for him. Last night, I told him everything he didn't like so much. Yeah, I want to tell you something. There have been a few of us that have rolled our eyes too much this week. So, all right. So what mothers really want is on Sunday, right? Tonight, we're going to be doing some more handy hints and hacks. So here we go. JD, let's try again at 28 minutes and 40 seconds. So we'll put it in at 28. That would be good. And Kerry, welcome. We're going to start talking about, are you lazy, depressed, or ill? How many of you have queried that for yourself? How many of you have wondered, am I being lazy? Am I depressed, or am I actually ill? Yes, that's good, Sarah. All of the above. I have all of the above as well in my life. So, and Chloe, okay. I'm not sure if you put you didn't put a smiley face at the end of that. So I think a lot of us have that issue. But you know what I always like to say, Chloe, to people, and so did Winston Churchill, so did, who played Scarlett O'Hara? Married to Laurence Olivier. Somebody help my brain here, please. But there are a lot of very famous people that struggled from mental illness. Yeah. So, Mom, I'm. Are you quad or para? And by the way, if it's difficult to type, don't worry about that. Yes, Sarah's saying, and we're going to ask these questions, Sarah, so hang on there. But what she's saying is you have to sort out what goes with what I ask myself all the time is, am I lazy? Am I depressed? Or am I actually sick? What's going on? Right. So Kerry's saying that she knows that she's bipolar. And so that gives her lots of excuses if she wants it. Right, Kerry? And we're going to talk a little bit about that side of it. Right. Oh, well done, Chloe. She actually answered the question here. She said, I have mental health, but I'm also lazy. And I never blame my laziness on my mental health. Yay. Right? You separate two parts. It's possible to be lazy and have mental issues as well. But how many people do you know who actually blame every reason that they're not doing stuff on the fact that they, as Kerry's just saying, they use it as a crutch. Just to make sure you all know, before I go any farther on this subject, you do all know that I'm not a doctor or a therapist or anything with a fancy piece of paper. The thoughts you're about to hear are purely mine from my lifetime and from what I've studied during my lifetime, and those of our viewers who have, experience. And that's why I always said when I was suffering from a mental problem, that the people who helped me most were not the doctors. The people that helped me most are people who've actually been there and done that. How many of you agree with that? And while we're waiting for those responses, we're going to ask a series of questions here. If you find yourself getting really upset during the broadcast, please take a break, maybe come back later and listen to the rest of it on the replay. And for those of you who are concerned about your comments being on the replay, when I finish the broadcast, I get in as soon as I can and I disable the comments. So although people can hear what's going on, they're not going to see what's going on. And hopefully that makes it easier for some of you. All right, so let me see what we've got here. All right, so Beth says she just avoids as many people as she can. So she doesn't like going out much. When I finally get back home, I get an overwhelmed feeling of relief and safety. So that's a social anxiety thing. All right, so Mom's saying that she's paralyzed in her left leg after a fall in 2012. Yikes, that's not fun. And she does all her stuff on her YouTube channel, the woodworking one. Yes, and by the way, Mom, were you surprised to hear that I've got more woodworking equipment than 99.9% of men I know? I was saying to Mom, she asked me a question, and I was saying, I've had men say to me, do you happen to have a router? And I go, what size would you like? Because I have 4. Yeah, using them will be a good idea. All right, so some of you relate to this, right? Yeah, so Erin's saying she's got a friend who's bipolar, but she blames everything on being bipolar. So I'm amazed. I had that as well. It's like people don't understand that the pills you take are meant to make your life workable. If they're not working, if the pills aren't working, then go to your doctor. That's the whole point of taking these pills. You should be able to function. That's the idea. So if you're taking pills and you can't function, you needed different pills. I saw a really great quote from Tony Robbins, and I wondered if any of you relate to this one. What Tony Robbins said was, people are not lazy. They simply have impotent goals. That is, goals that do not inspire them. How many of you have noticed that even though you are sick, you will achieve goals you want to achieve in some way. um, I used to tell the story when I was on stage a lot about the fact that, I come home from work absolutely exhausted. And in the days when I still did this, I'd literally put water in my bathtub and I'd soak in my tub. And, I've got a glass of wine and it's just like, the candle going and everything. And I just want to stop the day. And then the telephone would ring and it was some gorgeous guy that I want to go out with. I was amazed how my absolute exhaustion would turn into energy in a second. Do any of you remember that feeling? If I think if you want to know whether you are lazy, depressed, or ill, fall in love and see what it does to you. It's a passion. When you have a passion, it actually all your endorphins in your body change. Life becomes a lot easier. Some of you who are regular viewers know that I have been pretty darn sick over the course of the last 5 years, but I have rarely canceled a broadcast because I'm sick. Why? Because I know that even if I'm sick, that for some people, the fact that I broadcast 3 times a week actually helps them. And what I do is I do the broadcast, go back to bed, and then and then I get up again and do the next broadcast, if that's a Friday. So we know that part of my body loves to do the broadcast, right? I'm not really that noble. I love the feeling of helping people. So do any of you relate? What things, even though you're sick, what things can you do, have you done that surprised you? Even you wanted to do them so badly, you even did them when you were sick. I've had the flu for the last week. 2 weeks actually. And I'm amazed how much I've managed to get done. I'm beginning to get my energy back. And by the way, one thing I would recommend is do not pour boiling gravy over your finger by accident. That's what's left after a week. So you can imagine what it looked like 5 days ago. I was making last week's dinner and I had a ladle of gravy and I poured it over my finger instead of into the, somehow or other I got distracted and I ended up with the ladle. I turned the ladle not into the container, but I poured it over the finger. And it had some pretty hot stuff in it, literally. And ouch, it was nasty. So if any of you relate to being a bozo, oh, why isn't my... Okay, hang on a second, because my... My mouse has just stopped working. So wait a minute, I've got another. Just hang on one sec. Okay. I normally carry a couple of batteries in my pack. Oh, where have they gone? Okay, I just need to grab a battery, people. I'll be right back. Okay, just put this one in. And here's your handy hint for the day. Some of you probably already know this. Oh, that one's not going to do it for me. Okay, I'm going to go again. Hang on. Okay, just bear with me, and we will be geo for go. Oh, I think that's better. Don't know what happened there. Ah, there we go. And here's another handy hint for starting today. How many of you find you spend a lot of money on batteries with all your electrical equipment? Let me just catch up with what people might have said while I was doing all of that. All right, so yeah, a lot of people have said a lot of things, but I just want to just mention something that one viewer said, and let me know if I can use your name attached to this. But somebody said, I was shown the light when my father-in-law died. I didn't leave the house for over a year. Then I had to, no choice. His death was a wake-up call for me that I could change, that I could do things I didn't know I could. How many of you have found that sometimes actually getting really sick, be that sick in the head or sick in the body, was a wake-up call for you to realize you were not living your life to be happy, you were living your life for others? Yes, a great comment here from another viewer. It says, my tip to everybody is this: when you wake up, do not look at the things in your day you can't do. Only put your focus on what you can do. That is a great one. Okay, so just here's my quick tip for those of you who use a lot of batteries. I go to Home Depot once a year and buy a pack like this for about $14, and it lasts me at least a year. And it's a much cheaper way of buying batteries. And then, how many of you, when your batteries go flat, how many of you throw them away? My tip about this is don't throw them away. Buy a battery reader. You know what I mean? Something that measures what's going on with the battery. I put mine aside for a couple of months. Some of them recharge themselves for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. And then what I do is after a couple of months, I will check them. Actually, I should talk about that one on tonight's broadcast. Okay, let me leave that one for now because it's really quite interesting. The question that I have, my first question really is about how many of you have noticed that when you really want to do something, you don't use excuses. And somebody told me once a story that just really made it make sense to me. And what the person said was, think about who is the most famous person that you would like to meet. And if you had special tickets today to meet that person, would you go regardless of how you're feeling? All right, so that's what you need to ask yourself. Is this about the fact that I just don't want to do it? If I had tickets to meet so and so, would I be well enough to do it? And I think that is a really good measure. How many of you like that one? You know, when you're going, no, I don't feel well enough for that. Go, yeah, is it that you don't feel well enough? If you had tickets to meet so and so, would you be well enough? All right. And that is a really good check to have. How many of you feel lazy when you sit down or read a book? Or in my case, go to the studio and create a painting. How many of you feel lazy when you do that? And I'm sorry, what's happened is that for some reason the chat was frozen for me for a while. Okay, thanks, Sarah. Okay, Chloe and Sarah both said I can use their names, so that's good. Yeah, Kerry, you weren't here when I did it, but I gave you such a lot of kudos for the way you kept control yesterday. So a lot of you are liking that quote, I think. If I had tickets, would I feel well enough to do it? All right. And Mom is saying, yes, I almost died in the whole second when I fell in 2012. My main artery in my leg split. Yikes. And she was in a field all by herself. Her whole life changed. Life is worth living every day now. Yeah. Yes, Beth. All right, Beth. You showed when you first came onto the broadcast, you showed every symptom of somebody who actually is, the reason that you're a drama queen is you don't give yourself any time. You're go, go, go for everybody else and trying to show what a great person you are instead of just taking some me time. It's really difficult to take me time. And it's very important. How many of you have found that taking some time just for you is whatever it is that you want to do? If it's, I want to sit down. And in fact, I would challenge you all to take 1 hour every 2 days to just, be for you. Sarah, what a great use of me time. Sarah's saying, her time that she spends on the broadcast are her me time. Wow, what a great idea. Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, how many of you actually go out with your friends? Chloe, who said I could use her name, but Chloe says that she has a learning difficulty. So her writing and reading is not good, but she always tries to read a chapter a night. I want to tell you something. Your writing is pretty darn good here. All right. The reason you have 0 friends, Beth, is because you actually don't make time for making them. So, by the way, I know this is going to be a really strange concept, but in order to get friends, you may need to leave the house. Unless, of course, they're lined up outside your door. Right? If you've got friends lined up outside your door, then this is not for you. But if you haven't got friends, then what are you doing about it? Are you joining a club to learn how to do something? Are you going to the library? What are you doing? Yes, now Ireland, but I love the honesty of that statement. Ireland, who says he has a drinking problem, says, my friends are my fellow addicts. Not the best idea for me. As you can see that's a major step forward. I spent a lot of time, Ireland. I don't know if this makes any sense, but I've spent a lot of time working in halfway houses and talking to addicts. So yeah, I totally, but you cannot help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. But on the other hand, it's really important to get some healthy friends. Yeah, Beth's saying she's looking for a job. Excellent. That's a good way to make friends, right? Is actually have a job. And Jody's saying, that when she and Angel lived close together, they often laughed until they cried. I want to tell you something. There is nothing better than that feeling, is there? Right? Then when you're out with a friend and you can just, laugh until you cry. I love that. All right. So Sarah's saying, all my besties live far away, but I go and visit. We actually joined a club. It was so awesome. Yes. Excellent. Good. I'm pleased to hear that. Yes, Chloe saying, I have 2 best friends and that's enough for me. I'd rather have a small group of friends than, yes. then a big one, and be involved in all the drama. Gosh, we know about this drama story. If you want to know about drama, just talk to Beth. She's an expert. But she's recovering now. All right. So Erin, who, by the way, is bedridden just about from cerebral palsy. She says hanging out with friends doesn't have to do with going anywhere. It can just be having someone here and do a cast, all right? And we all hang out. Yeah. I've got to say that, Erin, I've got tears in my eyes right now because the picture of the two of us at your home came up on my Facebook feed this week. And it was just so nice because, in case you don't know, guys, I actually had the pleasure of visiting Erin. And the one thing I have to say is if you want a lesson in what it's like to do things, regardless of what's going on in your life, I would like to suggest that Erin would be the best coach you can have. Because Erin does not put up with BS. Erin just does the best she can every day and probably has the best attitude of just about anybody I know relating to the fact that she does not put up these excuses. Yeah, Ireland, isn't that the truth? Okay, I want to quote him here. He says, I presume it's a him. I might just join a creative writing group and meet people there. Good idea. There are a decent number of people I know online that are nice people, but most of them just fuel alcoholism because it makes for a more fun stream. Ireland, I've had people say to me, "Oh, why don't you do this, that, and the other on your broadcast? It would be way more fun." And I keep saying, because that's not why I came to YouTube. I came to YouTube to help people. And if you don't find that fun, that's okay. But there are an awful lot of people that have a lot of fun whilst learning. I think it's, that's what you've got to look at. And by the way, in case you don't know, Alan, I smoked for most of my life. I know what addiction looks like and feels like. But wow, if you could join a group, yes, a creative writing group is a great idea. I also, I'm part of a group that does this sort of art. And it really, every day I see different pictures from different people and it inspires me. Okay, so Erin's saying technically she is a quadriplegic. Yes, that means that technically all 4 of her limbs are not functioning. Now, but here's the thing. You have to meet Erin because what Erin can do with supposedly being a quadriplegic would blow your mind. And by the way, she joins the cast by talking into her machine. So let's move on because I got quite a few questions here. I found a definition of lazy. So take a deep breath, everybody. Here's the definition. I found this in the dictionary and I thought you'd like this. Maybe put it up somewhere so you know what it is. The dictionary definition of lazy is unwilling to work or use energy. How many of you totally relate to that? I'm just unwilling to put in the energy to do that. That is, I think, a really good definition. Lazy is when you're unwilling to work or use energy. So the next time, so to me, if I talk to Erin or when I visited Erin, with whatever little energy she has, she seems to put it to such good use. Kerry, it's not bad that you're in your PJs already. No, that's not being lazy. That's me time. Yes, Erin. See, Erin's saying, I love that you use the word unwilling instead of unable. Yes, because I think we are all able in some way, all right? Or you could have the excuse. And do remember that if you think you might be sick or depressed, make sure you get medical help, right? And I will keep saying this to you. Please make sure if you think you may be depressed at the end of this, that you actually, go and talk to a medical professional. And let's have a look for a second about illness. For those of you who've had all three, who've been lazy, who've had illness, and have had depression. How did you work out that you were actually ill rather than lazy? Do any of you have any sort of things that trigger you to let you know I'm ill, not lazy? All right. So here's the thing. Chloe says, when willingness to get out of bed and I get loads of bad thoughts and I'm just can't physically or emotionally do anything. That is a pretty big warning sign that you could have depression. But first of all, let's talk about illness. For example, last week, I kept thinking I was being so lazy, and then I realized I actually had the flu. All right. So you understand, I'm talking now about just being ill as opposed to depressed. But it's interesting. Jody said she realized that she had a problem when she threw a birthday cake on the floor. And she says it was a big clue that I needed some counseling. Yep, it happened. I love your honesty. All right. So Sarah's saying that she was told that she wasn't sick, but she knew she was. And finally, after years, I was diagnosed. Yeah. All right. So here's what her benchmark is. If I can't get through a shower, she knows I'm sick. Um, so I've had two occasions in my life where I actually realized I was sick, um, rather than lazy. And one of them was my hair was falling out and literally, in clumps. And, all sorts of other funny things were happening. And I went to a doctor, and the doctor said to me, "Oh, take a good walk, you'll feel better." I said, "Sir, you don't understand this. I happen to be a performer, and I was, a professional performer in as much I was a professional speaker." And I said, I can function under a lot of different circumstances when I'm sick. Uh, I also have had a history of depression. I know what that looks like, feels like, and I'm over it. But here is the thing. You are not listening to me. My hair is falling out. And I have other symptoms going on that tell me I am actually ill. And what I did was I found another doctor, one that had known me many years ago. And sure enough, my thyroid had a little major moment. And I was actually probably more sick than I should have been. So one of the things I need you to be aware of is that sickness is something, if you're running a temperature, the chances are you're sick, not lazy. In my case last week, if every bone in your body hurts for more than a day and you're taking, the pills that make it the ibuprofen, as I call them, and it's still not really helping very much, the chances are you're sick. This week I've had migraines, And those of you who suffer from migraines, you will know that that's not a pleasant thing. Um, and they are subsiding now. So I think I'm over the worst of this flu. But it really was like 2 weeks of not fun. And so how did I know that wasn't depression? So this is the next thing. How do you know that this is actually not illness now? How do you know this is not depression? And I would say the reason I know I'm not depressed is because I'm here and broadcasting. But, you know, depression is a sickness unto itself, right? So it's a mental sickness. And basically, I like to say that if I cannot control my thoughts or actions, the chances are I am depressed. Now, obviously, you need to go and get diagnosed. You need to go, you need to go and get help. Whether you take the meds or not is up to you, and I'll talk about that. But for those of you who've been in depression, you know who you are. I'm not going to mention people's names here. I'm just going to talk about the subject matter. But from your experience, when did you realize that you were depressed? And while you're answering that, if you're new to the broadcast and would like to be updated as to when our next broadcast is scheduled, please make sure you subscribe here. But also click the bell. I think there's a bell in the top right-hand corner somewhere next to my beautiful face. And then also make sure, please, that you follow me on Facebook and Twitter, because that's where I put up announcements. But if you click the bell here, the YouTube system should update you and let you know when I'm doing a broadcast. But I actually give people fair warning during the week that the broadcasts are coming up, and I do that on Facebook and Twitter. All right, so Carrie's, I'm mentioning Carrie, okay. She says she's good at hiding her depression from most people, but a couple of people just know, all right? Um, Somebody else is saying, when I couldn't hold a conversation with anyone without hating everything I said and started cutting my arms at the age of 10. Yeah, that's a pretty good indication, right? If you are mutilating your body or doing, anything to do with eating disorders or stuff like that, that is about here. It's not about the regular sickness. Now, when I say regular sickness, it's like alcoholism is a sickness. All right. I think these things are really important that we understand. They are a sickness and they are treatable. And so this whole thing about having an unrealistic expectation, how many of you suffer from the disease of perfectionism? I think perfectionism is a disease in my mind. Right? Yeah. Somebody's saying here, when I quit going to work, that's when I truly realized I was depressed. I couldn't move. I didn't know what was going on. Oh, yeah, I know that feeling. For a lot of us, we're so busy living our lives, we don't realize how sick we are in our minds. If you are not happy on your own, you know what I mean? The only time you're happy is when you're out with other people, then the chances are you have an issue. All right. Oh, somebody else is saying a classic one. I love it. When I don't feel like showering for 3 or 4 days and would do anything and just to stay on the couch and not do anything at all, or sleep too much. The feeling of negative oozing. Oh gosh, I remember those feelings so well. Yeah, and somebody else is saying I was embarrassed about it, and I'd rather share it, but maybe help other people by omitting it. Somebody else is saying, when I literally felt nothing at all except overwhelmingly numb, and I started cutting. Yeah, absolutely. Uh, and that became so bad that she was suicidal. All right. So somebody else is saying, when I feel depressed, I starve myself because I feel like I'm not worth even food. But when I'm happy, I eat. Interesting. Yeah, somebody else is saying perfectionism is really a bad one. I think perfectionism is a pretty good judge of your mental state. All right. Um, yeah, that's why I hated university assignments. I go well over the word count and not want to leave any points out that came up with. So editing was mad hard for me. Yeah. Hi, Linda. You've missed quite a bit of this, but you can pick it up on the replay. We're talking about signs that you knew you were depressed. What was the giveaway where you said, okay, that's it, I need help? I want to tell you something, and I don't mind admitting it. I got to the stage where the local bridge was beginning to look quite interesting to me. And funny enough, it was that time when my hair was falling out and other things were happening. And when I went to the doctor who knew me from years ago, he said, "What makes you think you're ill?" or something. And I said, quite honestly, the local bridge is beginning to look quite interesting to me, if you get my drift. And that to me was interesting. And what I didn't realize that depression was one of the symptoms of thyroid breakdown. And that's what the doctor hadn't put together, the fact I was losing hair and I was in depression. So, um, yes, let's talk a bit more about this perfectionism. I think if you can't control your perfectionism, chances are you probably need help. Yeah, if you and I think it's a very good point that's being made here. Sometimes when trying to be perfect, you stop doing things because why do it if it's not perfect? How many of you can understand that I could look at this and say, "Oh, that's not perfect," right? And therefore, why should I bother? By the way, I did one this week that I didn't think was good enough to show you. Do you want to see what my imperfect one looked like? So you see, I still struggle with this. I like this one because I'm showing it to you. What about the one I didn't like? Okay, let me get the one I didn't like so I can show you. Okay, and this is a lesson for all of you. Carrie, you bet you need a big hug and a therapeutic cry. You've had a very difficult week and you've handled it very well. This is the one I didn't like. So here is my question. Do you want to know why I didn't like it? Yeah. You see? But that's why I'm showing it to you. All right? That is why I am showing it to you, because to me it's too dark, it's too bland, it's too so tell me what you like about it. Actually, it does, doesn't it? And what if I called it you like it more than the first one? You see, that's the amazing thing about art. But here's the question that I have, right? Do you understand that my perfectionism, Beth and the rest of you who suffer from perfectionism, do you understand that is part of the problem, all right? And that's the interesting thing about doing art. By the way, here's the thing. I may choose to keep it and see if anybody likes it and wants to buy it, or I may choose to pour over it. Let me tell you what the definition of healthy is. The definition of healthy is to understand this is my painting, and if I don't like it, I don't have to like it, and I can paint over it if I want to. Um, do you understand? That is okay. And that would show me I'm painting for my pleasure, not for everybody else's. Hi, Maggie. Welcome. Yes. So, perfectionism. I wrote a full seminar about procrastination and perfectionism. Yes. And that's why I was wondering whether I should call it anxiety or something, because I really felt that this, when I looked at it, looked pretty anxious. All right. So, Linda, you said earlier on, and so has somebody else. But how many of you found that you really stopped worrying about your hygiene as much? You weren't taking showers or having a bath, whatever you do, as much as you should do. Yeah, I found out that excellent is good enough. Really. I know that I'm healthy when excellent is good enough. I'm not constantly pushing myself for perfection. That actually, to me, all right. Now, the thing is different cultures shower different amount of times in the week. What I found was, for example, in England, people don't seem to shower nearly as much as they do in Africa or so forth. All right, somebody's saying my son says he knows when I'm down because I don't do my nails. You see, it's about when you're not looking after yourself. All right. So when you're not showering as often or having a bath as often, whatever your regular routine is, when you're not keeping to your regular routine, how many of you find that sometimes you don't even bother to brush your teeth? That's pretty sure sign. If you're not doing what I call the things that you would normally do, your chances are you actually are suffering. Now, here's what I found, a really nice quote on this one, and it says, it would help if I could just get that quote so I can read it. It was one of those quotes that's a bit, oh, seriously, come on. Listen to this one very carefully because I think this is the essence of it, right? When you're depressed, you cannot control your thoughts control you. I wish people would understand this. Yes, Kerry, that's why I mentioned brushing your teeth, because I think if you have to force yourself to brush your teeth, the chances are that you are suffering from some sort of um, mental dysfunction going on. Yeah. Somebody's saying here, I only realized it when I had a call with my father-in-law and he listened and said so. Why are you depressed? That clicked for me and I realized, yep. All right. So, Sarah, the fact that you actually understand that's good. I want to tell you something. Somebody's saying that they're starting to do inner child work, and that's really a lot of the work that I like to help people with is to understand your inner child, and I'm going to be doing more stuff about that. Yes. You see, I think what happens is a lot of us haven't grown up. Hi, Tina. Welcome. Dear Mama Sal and friends from around the world. And perhaps everybody'd like to say where they're from. I'm from Southern British Columbia. Hi, Liz. Good to see you. Now, this is a lady who understands a lot of things. Um, I want to tell you that Leslie is our poster child for controlling her demons. When we first met Leslie, she hadn't been outside of her house for 3 years. And I am pleased to tell you that she, I don't know how many, it wasn't very long, a few months, got outside the house and then got into a car and then eventually got her driving license. And yeah, I really appreciate it. And Leslie, let me ask you, what uh, what was it about joining the broadcast that helped you take those steps? Yeah. Okay. So let me take a note of that. So that's inner child and abuse. Hang on one second. Trauma. Okay. Yeah, I think part of the problem is that we don't realize that our inner child is screaming at us. Yeah. Ah, that is so cute. Canada, you know something? You know how rewarding it is to have met somebody like Leslie here and to have been able to help her. All right. Number one, Leslie, remember to make small goals, the small as you can so you can do it, and then build up from there. And she said the support from the Dear Mama Sal family helped so much. You bet. Having people who actually care whether you get up in the morning. How about having people who hold you accountable? I want to tell you something. I have been in depression, and I am the first one to tell you I understand it. But depression is anger turned inwards, in my view. Depression means you're not dealing with shit. Oh, sorry for the word, but that's what I want to say. Depression is, when you just are not dealing with stuff in a healthy way. Now, I was sick this week, all right? Do you think I still did some downsizing? See, Leslie is making the point here. The key was sticking to those goals. No matter how bad you're feeling, just push yourself. Yes, somebody else is saying, I was so angry for what happened to me in my childhood. All right. And we held on to that excuse forever. I want to tell you, I relate to that one big time. The abuse overrode, no wonder I'm like this, I was abused, right? Somebody's saying, I decided truth speaking and two by fours. I wanted to avoid both. But seriously, Sal and her room explained most things. Oh, that is so beautiful to hear. And Kerry, you're allowed to feel a little off this week. All right. So, Chloe, one of the things that we say in this room, and smile as you hear this, there's a 2x4 coming. Is that okay? Chloe, just give me permission to give you a 2x4. Okay, don't try. Chloe, your assignment this week is stop using the word try. Either do it or don't. Does that make sense? So, for example, even though I was sick, every day I asked myself, did I do something towards downsizing the house? Something. It doesn't matter how small. Yes, write that down and put it on your bathroom mirror. Either do it or don't. Don't say you're going to try. You understand? All right, let me ask people. So, Kerry, you've done a brilliant job this week of keeping control, even though you had such a difficult week. So, the fact that you say that you are depressed, all right, let me ask you something. What would you if I were giving you the story Kerry is telling me, what would you recommend I do? And for those of you who have been depressed, for those of you when you're listening, you see, I don't think Kerry is actually depressed. I think she's overwhelmed. Is there a difference? Because I believe if you were depressed, you wouldn't be going out on dates with strangers. But that's just my view. You know, when I was depressed, I didn't want to do any of that sort of stuff. Yes, Sarah's saying if I were giving those sort of signals, Sarah would say, I understand how you feel and take steps to help yourself. Yes, remember our discussion about enablers versus friends? I think one of the best things, and that's what I want you to start thinking about, by the way, is, how do you help somebody you think is depressed? And if you think you might be sick or depressed, please make sure that you do get help from a professional, right? I agree. Jody's saying, Kerry, you would not have been able to handle that stress yesterday as well as you did if you were depressed. You're just overwhelmed, I think, honey. And so just be aware. I'm going to come back and talk a little bit more about this. All right. Also be aware that ignoring depression or illness is a self-inflicted wound. How many of you ignored the fact you're having a mental illness problem? Yeah, somebody's saying confiding in friends helped me a lot when I was depressed. I would also like to challenge that sometimes your friends uh, are not friends because of this. Because what they do is they enable you instead of saying, what does the doctor say? You think you owe that much to yourself, Kerry? You think? I have a feeling, Kerry, you might actually need to give permission to take a couple of days off. How many of you understand what I'm saying here? Sometimes you need permission to put those jammies on and stay in them for the weekend. I think that's where you're at, quite honestly. I think you're overwhelmed. All right, so Chloe, um, you know what the word fine stands for, right? The first word is that you are something or other up. The I is for irritable, the N is for neurotic, and the E is over emotional. Somebody's saying, I didn't realize how depressed I was. I hated going to work. So I just hid. Oh, I know that one. All right, listen to this one. Somebody's saying, true. When I was going through withdrawals, my friend offered me 30 Xanax from the streets to help with the come down. You know, you're healthy when you say no to that. You're on the road to recovery when you say no to that. One of the things I found, for example, when I gave up smoking, is I kept cigarettes in the house intentionally. All right. Somebody's reminding us that there are different kinds of depression. One is a vitamin D deficiency. Yeah, I want to tell you something. How many of you take vitamin D? I started taking vitamin D every day of my life, and it has really helped my mood. Yes, Carrie's now going to give herself permission to focus on her. I want you to focus on you and Dora. Okay, and somebody's saying, Sal, years ago, your advice, I listened. Lol. Each situation, I imagine it's a friend. And what advice would I give them? Boy, I fell a few times, but it's doable. I ignored it for ages, but I wanted out. You know something? I want to tell you, those of you who I know that have that make me carry on. When I think I'm going to quit doing Dear Mama Sal, I think about a few of you. The few of you that um, have made huge strides forward. You are the people I think about when I want to quit Dear Mama Sal. I want to say something that, um, Kerry, I think you're being really hard on yourself. You, for you now, the trigger was I wanted a cigarette. And that is the trigger. I felt I earned it, but I didn't break and do it. But why do you need a cigarette? You need to stop and think. You need to stop doing and start being. How many of you relate to that one? If only I could stop doing and just learn how to be. Because for some of us, we seem to think that the more I do, the more healthy I am. I would like to suggest the less you do, the more healthy you are in some ways. Oh, Chloe, I'm not going to stop doing Dear Mama Sal. I remember for those of you who know Benji asking me if if I had one wish that he could support me in, what would it be? And I said, I don't know if any of you can relate to this. My wish was make sure I can continue to broadcast and do Dear Mama Sal. That was my wish. Um, because to me that was something that I knew if I did nothing else in my life, I would like to be able to do that. To be able to continue to do that. And I realized that in retiring, that maybe I wouldn't be able to do it because it does cost me a lot of money and so forth. But so I said to him, if you really want to help me in my retirement, make sure I can continue to broadcast. Now, I yes, please add on Facebook and also please add on Twitter because those are the two places I um, put up warnings that we're going to broadcast. So, do you understand what sort of a friend Benji was in that moment? Because I was pretty sick last year, and he knew that, and I was scared that they thought I might have cancer and all sorts of things. And yes, the only thing where it's not Dear Mama Sal is on Instagram, and on Instagram, Chloe, it is the real Dear Mama Sal because somebody stole my name. And that was my error because I was slow in signing up for Instagram. All right. So I think, Kerry, a major trigger for you today is if I'm craving a cigarette, it's time for me to stop. All right. I would like to suggest that if your body is craving a cigarette, it means you're overwhelmed and it's time to stop and look after yourself for a couple of days. I'm also on Pinterest and, whatever. So really important that you understand that you are not alone. How many of you now Kerry's doing a great job about not smoking. She's actually vaping now. And as you know, she's cut down the nicotine on it and everything else. She's doing a really good job. But the interesting thing is, I will help anybody that wants support in moving forward. I just won't enable people um, too much. You know what I mean? It's like, I know if you really want to quit, you will quit. Yes, Kerry, I quite agree with you. She's saying that she quit smoking cigarettes 4 years ago, but once an addict, always an addict. But we all know, those of us who've given up smoking after years, that one cigarette was all we need. And boy, could we justify one cigarette. Kerry, yesterday you were quite right. You could justify having a cigarette because of all the stress. But the trick is you didn't, which tells me you are under control. You are not depressed. If you had started smoking yesterday, I'd be worried. But I do believe you can use it now as your body's warning sign that you need to stop and look after you. Does that make sense, Kerry? Because that's what I do now. Whenever I think, oh, I could really do with a cigarette now, I then follow that statement up with, well, that means you obviously need to stop. You're overwhelmed. So you need to get control back. You need to stop for 24 hours and then reset your goals. How many of you got to-do lists on your to-do list? Do you know what I mean? You got so many to-do lists, you got to-do lists on to-do lists. You are in overwhelm. It is different from depression. And the difference is if you're in overwhelm, you can take 24 hours to look after yourself, which is what an intelligent person does. In some way, and then reset your goals right down to minimum for a couple of days until you get rid of the overwhelm. All right. So, how many of you would like me to do a broadcast on? Yes, Jody's saying my to-do list is about 16 pages. Okay, so why don't we do a broadcast? Can we think of a good title for that? You can do this, Kerry. We believe in you. I just need you to rest, honey. You know that. You know it's true. You're not stupid. You can feel it. You just need to zone out for a couple of days. Talk to Mike if you want to, but other than that, just stop trying to be. Sleep. Yeah. All right. So how about to-do list is a self-inflicted wound? Oh, it's self-inflicted stress. So to-do lists that are overwhelming. Overwhelming to-do lists. Overwhelming to-do lists. That would make it quicker. Would you want that sort of broadcast? Well done. Chloe took a step forward today. Well done, Chloe. I'm going to put you onto the congratulations thing. Hang on a second. Wait. She took a step in the right direction. I'm going to go back. I'm going to talk about you this evening and this week. I got to find that visual. Oh, okay, Claire. I'll add it afterwards, Chloe. Well done. Do it or don't do it. Don't try. Yeah. So let me give an example of that, if I can. Yeah, Chloe's saying I never make to-do lists because it just makes me more stressed. And that's what I'm going to I'm going to do a broadcast about that. All right. Kerry's saying I'm anxious about the lack of doing anything at the moment, but I'm doing breathing exercises to focus. How many of you? Yeah, if you could just give me a reminder, I'd really appreciate that, Jody. By the way, for those of you who talk about enabling versus being a friend, is Jody being a friend to me right now? Um, Yeah, as opposed to an enabler, right? Because she knows that when I have to write notes down, it takes me away from my thought track. And so that's part of her job as an admin for me, is that when she can hear that I want to do something, you're right, she will take a note, and then after the broadcast she will remind me. Hands round of applause for Jody, because it's wonderful. All right, now I've got to get back to where we were. Just hold on, everybody, because we are doing pretty well today. By the way, is this helping any of you? All right, here's my next question to you. Looking back, for those of you, oh yeah, best family members can be friends if they treat you like one. Actually, Alan, that's really interesting. You are not the first person to tell me that I should do ASMR. And do you want to know who the other person was that suggested that? It was really funny. It was Benji. And I had no idea what ASMR was. Yeah, that's what Mr. Google is for, Beth. Check it out after the broadcast. Just take a note. How many of you now come to the broadcast with a notepad and paper? Well, Chloe saying, helping me so much before I came on this live. I felt pretty crappy, and you've given me inspiration and made me smile. Thank you. Yeah, you see, you do need to understand that talking about stuff makes it a lot better. All right. Beth found out that actually eating made her feel better this week. All right. Um, when you can cut out the perfectionism, when you can just do things because you enjoy it, not because you have to be perfect at it. Okay, Mom, great to see you. Thank you. By the way, for those of you who are not on our mailing list, I actually have sent out our broadcast this week. Um, this evening, we're going to be doing more handy hints and hacks. And on Sunday, we are going to be doing what mothers really want for Mother's Day. And if you haven't seen, I actually put a questionnaire out for those of you on the mailing list to let me know what you what you really want for Mother's Day as opposed to what they keep giving you. But we're actually going to do a broadcast about it. And for those of you who've replied, thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you would like to be on that mailing list, just send me an email to DearMamaSal at gmail.com and put yes to the list. The mailing list. I have a special mailing list where when I want to do a survey on a subject or when I want to give special offers, I have a special mailing list. But you have to let me know you want to be on it. That's a technical thing for the law. Yeah. All right. So thank you very much, Jody. Mother's Day in North America. I'm not sure whether it's the same. Linda, is it the same in the UK or Leslie? For us, it's on not this Sunday, but the following one. And it just celebrates mothers. UK, it was March. Okay. So ours happens to be in May. Ah, there we go. All right. So, um, Jody, could you make a note of that I should check when Mother's Day is in England each year? Yeah, June 17 normally, right? Round about there. Well, that's what we're here for. We're here to help you help yourself. You understand, my job is not to do things for you. My job is to help you, take a step forward. Okay, thanks, Jody. All right. Can I ask you, when you realized you were depressed, did you have any physical warning signs? And if so, what were they? Yeah, do that breathing, Kerry. You're overwhelmed, honey. By the way, Kerry, if you stay overwhelmed for a number of weeks, then yes, your depression is getting hold again. All right. So Leslie is saying for her, yes, I recognize it. How many of you noticed that your breathing was weird? Leslie's saying she had a heavy chest. I found I was doing all my breathing sort of like from this point upwards. There was no deep breathing at all. All right. Now, the interesting thing was that Linda couldn't see her own symptoms, but I did. And then she took those symptoms that I recognized and took them to her doctor. All right. See, I've been there and done that. I know what it looks like. Okay. It's called a mop, Chloe. Go now. Not on your chair. Go and we'll just chit chat for a little while. We're just going to talk about shallow breathing. Is that okay? Yes, I find when I am overwhelmed, I start not breathing properly. And so what happens then? Let's think about that. When we don't breathe properly, yeah, Chloe, go and pee. Okay, let us know when you've finished, then I will continue the broadcast. In the meantime, I'm just going to continue to talk about breathing shallowly. All right, so yesterday when Kerry was telling us all the stress she was going under, Jody, like the friend she is, reminded her to breathe. All right, so I would like to say that is a really important. All right, Erin's now promoting Leah's channel. When does that start, Erin? So to me, Erin, we don't normally use this to promote other channels, but just a heads up, right? I mean, I'm happy to do that, but you understand that if we start promoting other people's channels, then we're going to get ourselves into a problem. Oh, so she's actually timed her channels to follow mine. Interesting. That's a compliment. All right. So, um, my feeling is that we is Chloe back yet? Because I don't want to go on with the subject until she's back. Yeah. Somebody's saying, I've been diagnosed with severe depression, and when I get to that point, then I notice my breathing gets that way. All right, the shallow breathing happens, and I start to get irritated and I start to panic. I would like to suggest that for a lot of people, social anxiety can be helped by breathing properly. Yeah, I think a lot of what you're going through this week, Kerry, has to do with that. I think you got angry, and angry gets turned inwards. And yeah, it's good that you're at peace. Yeah, it's not your job, right? You remember that thing about the difference between a friend or a neighbor. All right, so Linda's saying that she knew things were bad when she couldn't walk out alone. She thought everybody was looking at her. Sal picked up on it. Guess what, Sal? I did a 2-mile walk on my own on Wednesday and no ciggies either. Okay, so we're going to put Linda on the list. All right. You see, okay, Chloe's back. That's good. Well, thank you, Chloe. All right, so Kerry's saying she's broken the habit of being a fixer. How many of you don't have enough time for yourself but have more than enough time for everybody else? You see, if you spent the time that you spend on others, right? If you spent as much time helping yourself as you help others, you would be a lot healthier. If you spent as much time being creative or going out for a walk or just doing stuff, doing your nails or whatever, if you reading a book, if you spent as much time looking after you as you spend looking after others, you would be healthier. Let me ask you, Ireland, are you still here? I can't see. This doesn't allow me to see whether you're still here. No, not here anymore. Okay, so yes, you see, here's the thing. If you can spend some time focusing on you, you deserve it now more than ever. Absolutely. And what happened is you tried to help somebody and it wasn't appreciated, it was abused, and that made you angry. And then from that point onwards, you went on a spiral. Do you understand that, Kerry? By the way, thanks, Aaron. And then look how much drama has been in your week because you weren't looking after you. Oh, this is an interesting one. This is the other side of that story. I feel the more I focus on myself, the more I overthink myself into a downward spiral. Yes, Leslie, so that's the balance. All right. That's why I'm saying it's okay for Kerry to give herself a weekend off. All right. But if you're giving yourself a week off when you're not sick, then what do you know? You have a problem. Or if you take a weekend off and you're feeling just as bad, then you may have a problem. In which case, go and get checked out. So, what I wanted to check, some of you know that when you get really overstressed, right? And see, I want you to understand the difference between what is just overwhelmed as opposed to in depression. And I would like to say that overwhelmed you can get out of. All right. That you can come to the broadcast, you can talk about it and realize that you can take some time off for yourself. You can, cut that to-do list out for a couple of days, do whatever. All right. Linda's saying that she's accepted herself as an overthinker as long as she spends time overthinking about herself, helping her get better. Yeah, Leslie's saying that they wanted to go on meds again, but you know something, Leslie, it's time. You may want to just say, okay, fine, give me 3 months to see if I can get control back again. That's what I would do, Les, and then do make sure you're doing the right things for yourself. But if I, and, you know, and that's what I would do. I would make a contract with your doctor and say, if I haven't got control back in 3 months, then yes, I will take the pills. You know, you got to give yourself that chance of taking control. Now, the question, Beth, the interesting thing is that I gave you the challenge about can you keep your calories intake for 21 days? The answer is if you can, then you have control. All right. You just needed motivation. Um, Leslie is doing things to help her mental health. All right. She's joined a gym to spend time working on her mental health. So to me, if you can take control of your symptoms, then the chances are you are just overwhelmed and not depressed. How many of you got hypersensitive when you were depressed? Okay, so let's talk about that. What does that look like? And by the way, do you also get hypersensitive when you're overwhelmed? All right, so a lot of you are saying that you recognize this, but I'd also like to say hypersensitive, you take things the wrong way. People will say, "Oh, is that the same dress you were wearing last week or something?" And you will just take it, very personally. Um, Somebody will speak to you in a slightly off manner, you know, and you will think they're picking on you or whatever. You become very sensitive to things. But again, I also find that that happens to me when I'm overwhelmed. No problem, Chloe. Thank you. So, you know, you look at this and you go, some of the symptoms of depression are also symptoms of just being overwhelmed. So, I really do recommend that try and get control. If you can't get control, then the chances are you probably do need to talk to your doctor. Yeah. So just be aware because, you know, these things are subtle clues to your state of mind. All right. And I just want you to be aware of them. It's a pleasure, Kerry. That's what we're here for. So, guys, your assignment of the week. What do you think we should make our assignment of the week on this issue? What would you like to have as your assignment? And part of me goes, how many of you suspect that you might be in depression, but haven't gone to the doctor? All right, so here's some suggestions of what you can work on this week. Be aware of your negative thoughts. Yes, give yourself a break when you need it. All right, for those of you who remember smoking, that's what I think smoking was about. I need a break. I think for some of you, the assignment of the week is if you've been thinking that maybe you're depressed, maybe you need to go and check it out. By the way, do you know there are plenty of um, quizzes on Google to let you know whether you're depressed or not? I would suggest, use your support team to help you this week. For some of you, it's stop doing so much. You're overwhelmed. For some of you, your task this week is to get off your derriere and go do something. Yeah, Carrie's saying that she finds that sometimes her mood, fluctuates with what time of the month it is, and I totally understand that. All right, so Linda says her medical professional gave her a sheet of paper with depression questions on it. Yeah, there are so many quizzes online. How many of you, would take the time to actually take one of those quizzes and see whether you are depressed or not? Yes, Chloe's task for this week is I'm going to take the don't try, do it or don't. Give yourself permission, Chloe, to either do it or don't. Now, Chloe, I'm going to give you a hint here. Is there something you are procrastinating about that you keep saying, I'm going to try and do that, but you just never get to it? And we'll be talking about this more when we do the broadcast on this one. Yeah, Kerry, I think the issue is that you got sucked in and you're angry. All right. So leaving the house and see a friend. All right. So why don't you invite the friend to come and see you? That's step one. I do the same thing, Chloe, about exercise. I always say my biggest challenge in exercise is getting outside the door. I always think of Leslie. Well, all your other friends age 21 don't have your problems, Chloe. All right? So, does your friend know how scared you are to leave the house? Yeah, I would say for a couple of days, Kerry. So I'm just waiting to find out if Chloe's friend knows that she has a problem leaving the house. I do have a suggestion for you if that is so. And this is just a possible option. Yeah, Chloe says that she feels bad because she tries to understand, but I can see that she's disappointed when I make excuses. Here is what I'd like to suggest, Chloe. Tell your friend, does your friend have transport? Does she have a car? Okay, she gets the bus. So great. Here's what I would recommend. I would recommend that she comes and picks you up and that you go together. Because you see, now there's still a chance that you'll try and cancel it. And so tell her, if you try to cancel it, come anyway, right? Promise me you'll be a friend and come anyway. Even if I try to cancel it. Because I've had enough of this. I just need to get out of the house. And I need you to help me. Right. But here is the thing, Chloe. Don't keep asking her to do that. Say to her, every time she does that, the next time you will come and you won't give an excuse. You see, Chloe, don't try. Do it or don't. Get off your butt, Chloe. We love you. Big hugs to you, honey. Yeah, Kerry, I knew I was in trouble last week when I had put my neck out. You know what I mean? My whole neck, I couldn't move my head properly. It's a bit better today, but it was really bad. I was under that much stress. Okay, so Leslie, Chloe, did you write to me? Because if you did, and Leslie's offering to help you, what I will do is I will send you Leslie's email with, if she says yes, that that's okay, so that Leslie can help you. Because Leslie understands totally. She's been there and had the problem. And, you know, there are other people here in the room that would just be happy to support you. Just take little baby steps. But the other thing is, Chloe, that you need to be held accountable. Tell your friend, I need you not to take the excuses anymore. All right? I am fed up with giving excuses. They are lies. Well, I don't want to overwhelm Leslie, but the point is there are quite a few people. If Leslie thinks she can handle that, that's great. If not, we'll find. You can always write to me, Chloe. Kerry's giving herself the weekend off, but after that, she's willing to support you. But we're going to leave Kerry to look after herself for a week, okay? I thought you would be, Leslie. Okay, so Chloe, if I find your email, I will send you a note back and give you Leslie's email. If you haven't got that by Sunday, tell me, and it means I just forgot. Yeah, excuses are lies. Oh, I don't want to put that up. I don't want to put that up on the Facebook thing, Chloe, because I don't know who's watching this that you don't want to give that to. You understand there's nothing private on the internet. So even just the people in this room, I can trust most of them because I know them, but I don't know who's watching, as ghosts. So I don't want to do that. All right. That's why I ask you to email me. Yeah, actually, I'm very pleased to tell you Kerry removed it for you way before then because Kerry's very good as a moderator. It didn't go up, did it? Nobody saw her email, her Facebook. Okay, I will also give Kerry's as well then. The main thing is or your messenger or something like that. All right. Linda is also okay. Linda, please don't do that on internet. All right, so be careful, you guys. There's nothing private on the internet. So that's why I like to do it the long way, but it's safer. Learning moment. Yeah. There we go. Right. That's how you do it. Do it via email. You can give as much information out privately as you want to. I just really ask you not to do it publicly. We got enough problems in the world without creating any more. All right, everybody. So we're a little bit over time, but hopefully you got a little bit of help today between when am I just being lazy? By the way, I just want to let you know when I was sick this week, what I did was I don't care how I feel. I just need to go out and do one thing on my deck, right? I'm trying to get my deck cleaned up. And so, literally, if I went out and just picked some things up and put them in the garbage, I could say I did something on that today. Do you get the idea on this one? That way I knew I had control, but I didn't go into perfectionism. Just do one thing. I just did 2 paintings this week, not 10. So I knew I was able to control that, even though I wasn't feeling well. I, understand, I made papadans. I'll talk about that tonight. So I did something creative and learning. Excuse me. Got the hic. So one of the things I think tells you whether you are in depression or not is, can you control your thoughts? Chloe, let's work on you first. When you've got this under control, no problem, Alan. We're just about to stop. So, um, Alan, what I'd like you to do is please let us know when you join that writers group. All right, we're going to hold you accountable. And don't give us excuses. Either do it or don't. We're not interested in why you didn't. We're interested in, yes, I did it. I'm going to add you to the list, Ireland. And so get back to me when you've joined it. Healthy people. All right. And I would, Ireland, one of the things I would really recommend, okay? Don't walk away from your addictive friends. Run. You understand what I'm saying? You know what vortex that takes you down. So this is my thing. Why would you keep feeding that negativity? Find yourself healthy friends. Exactly, Ireland, right? Right. So there it is. It's not my quote. I heard it. I don't know who said it originally. Otherwise, I'd give them the reference. Don't walk away from unhealthy people. Run. For some of you, you think that being busy is better than being. And you think that looking after yourself is being lazy. I want you to get away from that. Can you control your mind enough to give yourself me time? I don't mean sitting and vegging on videos for 5 hours. I'm talking about, can you just sit down and read a book or read a chapter of a book? You'll know if you have control, if you can do that. If you haven't got control, enough control to do that, or just sit down for an hour and do some needlepoint, or just sit down for an hour and start an assignment on a writer's thing. By the way, this is not about perfection. Can you just do it for the fun of doing it? All right. I didn't paint here for perfection. I painted for the fun of being able to paint like this. I know some people would love to be able to paint like this. Yes, don't walk away from people who are always borrowing money. Run. Get a lot of distance. Don't walk away from people who are enabling you. Run. Right? What is an enabler? Somebody that keeps you stuck. Do you understand that, Ireland? Your addictive friends, 9 times out of 10, are keeping you stuck. And you know it. You're not stupid. You're here. Therefore, you know this is not healthy for you. However, um, there's no way to make sure you can get the money back, Chloe, unless you know something I don't know. Here is my rule about lending money. Never lend money that you cannot afford to lose. In other words, if you're going to lend money, presume it's never going to come back. That's a really good way to lend money. If I don't lend money nearly as much as I used to. But if I do, I only give them as much as I can afford to lose, which today isn't very much at all. All right? So you might say, hey, I'd love to give you more, but here's $10 towards whatever it is that you need to do. That's up to you. But I actually don't do that anymore. I would rather give them 10 options on how they might be able to earn some more. All right? Don't get sucked into other people's drama and don't enable it. Yeah, I'm actually I wrote a poem on fear, Ireland. I don't know if you'd like to hear it. Wrote it 40 years ago, probably. Yeah, and I probably won't quote it correctly, Ireland, but I'm not into perfectionism anymore, and I'll let you know when I need time to think of the next line because it was a long time ago. Here's what I said, Ireland, and for those of you who are watching this, you might want to just close your eyes for a second because sometimes it's better to hear the words rather than see me talk them. Whenever danger comes very near, I get a reaction, and it's one called fear. And it isn't pleasant, I must agree, and there are plenty of times that it's threatened me. For fear, you see, it seems to come about when in my mind I have some doubt. Should I be here? Do I belong? What will happen? Will it go wrong? You see, fear, I believe. No, that's wrong. Fear, you see, it seems to come about when in our minds we have some doubt. Should I be here? Do I belong? I can't remember it. I'm going to have to look it up. It ends with the words, for fear, you see, I'd have to say, uh, I can't believe I can't do this. Ireland, do you come to the Sunday broadcast? Should I be here? Do I belong? Will it happen? Will it go wrong? For fear, you see, it's a lack of belief, bringing with it untold grief. So next time you feel that emotion arise, would you laugh out loud just to dry your eyes and smile at yourself a little and say, I didn't believe in myself today. I want to thank you, Ireland, because if you hadn't put up that little word of encouragement indirectly, I don't think I would have remembered the rest of the words. So, yeah. For any of you who would like that, yeah, do you understand what I was talking about that? So when you get into this situation, Ireland, I'd like you to think about that. Did you believe in yourself today? Did you believe in yourself enough to run away from the negativity? Did you stay away from the hate group? Did you stay away from the people who have their fun making fun of people? Yeah, I will do, Leslie. Okay. I will actually do how about I actually do, a version of it? By the way, was it somebody in this room that asked me for the lobster story? Somebody asked me to record the lobster story. Alright, so guys, um, I do need to go, but I will make the fair poem available to people on the mailing list just so that I can keep it, that it's not for everybody. All right, everybody. So, for those of you who will be here tonight, get ready with your helpful hints and hacks of, life hacks and things. It's been a pleasure having you here, Ireland. Look after yourself. Stop mixing with people that are going to make it worse. All right. Leslie, keep up the great work and do what you need to do to look after yourself. Don't worry about judgment on that one. And for the rest of you, Kerry, please take the weekend to work on you and rest. You obviously need some rest. You've had a lot of pressure. Beth, keep up the good work and we'll still be here for you regardless. So the good news is we can do this together. When people care for one another, it's amazing what we can accomplish. But most of all, remember to look after yourself. I really thank Jody for being a great admin for me the way that she does. I really, really appreciate that. For the rest of you, have a great time. If I don't see you tonight for Handy. Bye bye for now, everybody. Bye.